I'm posted in the A, saying no, my phantom right now. Every time I ride by, promise, but not like this. Open it, ATLA, I can do this all day. You know where I'm from.
Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of the All Around Atlanta Sports Podcast, or Atlanta Teen Sports Center, whatever you prefer to call us. I'm Blake Newsom. I'm actually live in Boston, right down the street from Fenway Park. And I'm joined by owner of Falcons Daily, and who has his followers going up by the week. Former sports broadcaster at Sports Broadcasting Camp, just like me, which I'm actually at for this week in Boston, Mark Legate. So how are you doing today, Mark?
Good, how are you, Blake?
I'm fine. Let's just get right into this Hawks topics about, basically we'll go through a rundown of, basically we haven't come on since the Dwight Howard trade news, and that was just for breaking news. But other than that, there's been a lot of stuff that's gone on since then. As we all know, they got knocked out in the first round by the Washington Wizards, and Dwight Howard was basically traded, which pretty much got to the point where everybody's saying that Travis Schlenk was going to blow it up. So we'll start right after that, which basically a few days later, Paul Millsap decided to go to the Nuggets for money, and looks like the Hawks weren't going to get anything out of him until we got Jamal Crawford and a few extra money and a few extra cash in the three-way trade. Didn't lead to much, but Jamal Crawford accepted his buyout, even though we'll still be paying him a few $1 million. But Mark, I'm going to get your opinion on this trade and about the Jamal Crawford buyout and how that basically showed that the Hawks might not be in the best situation for this year.
Well, Jamal Crawford was not wanting to play for Atlanta. He made that clear. He just wanted to play for a team that's ready to win, and a team that's built to win now. So I get where he's coming from. He had his years in Atlanta. I don't think that means that Atlanta's going in the wrong direction with the buyout. I actually think that was smart for Atlanta because I think that they're trying to build young, and I think they're trying to build around Schroeder and Torian Prince, in my opinion. So I personally like the buyout. I think that's a good direction for the Hawks. They're trying to build young, and that's what they proved in that buyout.
And I agree, too. I mean, I had to argue with Connor Quinn, one of our co-hosts here on Atlanta Teen Sports Center, about Tim Hardaway versus, which we'll get into his contract here in a second, about his, between Jamal Crawford and Tim Hardaway Jr., who's the better player. In my opinion, 2 years from now, which is going to be like a rebuild is trying to build up over a long time and build a franchise, not just a one-year fix, is I believe Tim Hardaway is going to be the better player. Jamal Crawford is on his way out, and he's not really going to want to be part of a buyout here if he wants to be able to win while he can, because I believe he's like 36, 37 years old, if I'm not correct. Moving on to Tim Hardaway, he decides to go back to New York for a big, long contract, who's actually going to make more than his dad did his whole career with this whole contract. And Mark, I'm going to go back to you with your thoughts on this free agent pool.
Can you repeat the question? Sorry about that.
I'm going to go, what are your thoughts on Tim Hardaway and his free agent?
Okay, yeah, sorry about that. So,
Okay.
Tim Hardaway was a huge loss for Atlanta, in my opinion. The second half of the season, he really proved himself to be the starting shooting guard in Atlanta. But, I mean, come on, he's not worth $17 million. If you looked at players at his caliber, they were getting paid, a 3-year contract for $36 million. They're getting around $12 million a year. Now, if the Hawks offered him $12 million a year, I would have been okay with that. But $17 million, no, I'm not okay with that. I wish the best of luck to Tim Hardaway Jr. He was a great player while he was in Atlanta.
Yes.
I love the fact that we traded for him.
Yeah.
But he was completely overpaid, and kudos to him for somehow working out a $17 million contract.
I mean, who knows? I mean, the Knicks definitely need somebody. I mean, if Kyrie ends up going to New York, Kyrie and Tim Hardaway Jr., I think that'd be a nasty front court.
That would be.
Or is that the front court or is that the back court? I don't know. But we'll go on to the team roster here for just a second looking at it. It seems like the oldest player on the team is 31 years old, or 32, about Chris Humphries. But I think wasn't Chris Humphries waived or something? I don't know. But anyway, looking onto the Atlanta Hawks roster on ESPN.com, according to, we got Kent Bazemore, Marco Bellinelli, who we got in the Dwight Howard trade, DeAndre Bembry coming into his second year, Fear the Fro, Nicholas Brusino, who we picked up from waivers from Dallas a few days ago, John Collins, the first-round draft pick, Dwayne Dedman, somebody who we picked up from the Spurs in free agency a few days ago, backup point guard Malcolm Delaney, Tyler Dorsey, in the draft. Chris Humphries, Ersan Ilyasova, who I think was a big cash, yeah, I think that was a good re-signing by the Hawks. I'll get to your point in just a second, Mark. And then we got Mike Muscala, good re-signing. Miles Plumlee looks like he might be able to help us out some. Tyrion Prince, Dennis Schroeder, of course, and Diamond Stone. And I'll get to what you were saying on Ersan Ilyasova, Mark.
Ilyasova, when the Hawks got him, I was really excited because he's been bouncing from team to team, but he really hasn't had the chance to prove himself. Now, during his time in Atlanta, he proved himself, putting up 15 points, 7-something rebounds. I mean, he was a great power forward for the Hawks. Exactly what we need. Now, he is on the older side, but I do think that we need that veteran leadership for, especially John Collins, who we got in the first round, like you said.
And yeah, I think it'll be great because, I mean, he was a great backup for Millsap. He could shoot. One thing I knew he couldn't do what Millsap couldn't is he can shoot threes. He can do a lot of stuff Millsap could do is he could shoot, he could defend. But, you know, he's not like the driver inside as Millsap. He can shoot what we need when John Collins is like has the other side that Ilyasova had, that Millsap hadn't, about he can clean up the glass and he can drive inside and stuff like that. But I don't know. I think this was a good keep by Atlanta, and then I think Mike Muscala I actually like better than Miles Plumlee as our future of the center. I just wish they could have kept Hardaway because I do like Mike Muscala's future here in Atlanta. So wouldn't that be nasty having a young Schroeder who looks like to be on the rise in 2K terms? He looks like he's going to be an 85, 86 overall point guard in the future. And then you got Tim Hardaway, Tyrion Prince, and then you got John Collins who looks like he's very good already. And then you got your center and Mike Muscala. And all those players look like all of them are just getting better. So I think that'd just be great. But fortunately, we weren't able to keep Hardaway, as Mark said. A little bit too much of money. But yeah, a little bit of a quick episode here because Mark has to go do something. But Mark, do you think there's any other thoughts you want to get on or get to the point about the Hawks news?
One thing I will address is the Dwight Howard trade because there's been a lot of mixed emotions about that. Personally, I feel that that trade, he needed to get out of Atlanta. Now, he only was in Atlanta 1 year, as everyone knows, and he needed to get out of Atlanta. He was a defeat in the locker room, and that's sad to say, but he was. He brought enthusiasm into the locker room, but second half of the season, he was just a defeat. He was a plague. He was causing tension between players and coaches. Now, I wish Dwight Howard the best of luck in Charlotte, but it was time for him to go.
Yeah,
but one thing I was sad about is the return that we got for Dwight Howard. He didn't get much, but like I said, you know, we needed to get rid of him. So.
But yeah, it looks like the Hawks look like they're going to have 5 first-round draft picks coming up in the first years. But one last thing I'll do before I let you go is that the Kyrie Irving trade news. What do you think? What if they traded Dennis Schroeder for Kyrie Irving and 3 first-round draft picks from those 5? What do you think that would work, or do you think that's even a possibility? You think that's just something floating out in space?
3 first-rounders and Schroeder, I don't think the Hawks should do. The Hawks are in rebuild mode, so I think that we should keep every draft pick that we acquire. I don't think the Hawks are in a position to trade for Irving. We don't have the assets, but I think a team like the Celtics should actually try to make a move. Isaiah Thomas is in his contract year. I wouldn't be surprised if the Celtics did try to make a move for Kyrie Irving.
And yeah, guys, as I said, Mark has to go, so thank you for coming on the show, Mark. I'll try to get out a longer episode tomorrow or later tonight. Thank you guys for listening to another edition of the All Around Atlanta Sports Podcast or Atlanta Teen Sports Center. I'm Blake Newsom, along with my co-host Mark Legate, and hopefully you'll be able to see more of him soon in the future. As I said, follow him on Instagram and a lot of social media at Falcons Daily. So, Mark, thank you for coming on the show, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for having me, Blake.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Go A-Town.
Have a good day.
You too.
Woo! Bring 'em out, bring 'em out, bring 'em out, bring 'em out. It's hard to yell when the barrel's in your mouth.
Come on.
Bring 'em out, bring 'em out.
Hey.
Bring 'em out, bring 'em out.
Yeah.
Bring 'em out, bring 'em out.
Hey.
Bring 'em out, bring 'em out.
VIP coming live from the VIP. Heard the nightlife, lost life without